Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to be reading together from about the genocide in Rwanda. And I just wanted to point out on the map, Rwanda is this small country, capital of Kigali. It is north of Burundi. It is surrounded by Tanzania, Uganda, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. This large, huge country, Democratic Republic of Congo, is also known as Zaire. So just be aware of that. Here we go. Part 2. In 1990, this rebel army, the Rwandan Patriotic Front, invaded Rwanda and forced Hutu President Juvenal Habyarimana into signing an accord which mandated that the Hutu and Tutsis would share power. Ethnic tensions in Rwanda were significantly heightened in October 1993 upon the assassination of Melchior Ndadaye, the first popularly elected Hutu president of neighboring Burundi. A United Nations peacekeeping force of 2,500 multinational soldiers was then sent to Rwanda to preserve the fragile ceasefire between the Hutu government and the Tutsi rebels. Peace was threatened by Hutu extremists who were violently opposed to sharing any power with the Tutsis. Among these extremists were those who desired nothing less than the actual extermination of the Tutsi. It was later revealed that they had even drawn up lists of prominent Tutsis and moderate Hutu politicians to kill should the opportunity arise. Questions for this are on Edpuzzle. Part 3. In April 1994, amid ever-increasing prospects of violence, Rwandan President Habyarimana and Burundi's new president, Cyprien Ntaryamira, held several meetings with Tutsi rebels. On April 6, while returning from a meeting in Tanzania, a small jet carrying the two presidents was shot down by ground-fired missiles as it approached Rwanda's airport at Kigali. Immediately after their deaths, Rwanda plunged into political violence as Hutu extremists began targeting prominent opposition figures who were on their death lists, including moderate Hutu politicians and Tutsi leaders. The killings then spread throughout the countryside as Hutu militia, armed with machetes, clubs, guns, and grenades, began indiscriminately killing Tutsi civilians. All individuals in Rwanda carried identification cards specifying their ethnic background, a practice left over from colonial days. These tribal cards now meant the difference between life and death. Here's an example of two different identification cards or tribal cards. This is a man who was born in 1957, and you can see that he is a Tutsi. Here is another card. This is also another Tutsi, and this is a person born in 1967. So these two people, if they were questioned by the Rwandan or Hutu militia, would have been possibly just shot on sight when it was found that they were Tutsi. On to part 3. Part 4. Amid the onslaught, the small UN peacekeeping force, 2,500 people, was overwhelmed as terrified Tutsi families and moderate politicians sought protection. Among the peacekeepers were 10 soldiers from Belgium who were captured by the Hutus, tortured, and murdered. As a result, the United States, France, Belgium, and Italy all began evacuating their own personnel from Rwanda. However, no effort was made to evacuate Tutsi civilians or Hutu moderates. Instead, they were left behind entirely at the mercy of the avenging Hutu. Back at the United Nations headquarters in New York City, the killings were initially categorized as a breakdown in a ceasefire between the Tutsi and Hutu. Throughout the massacre, both the United States and the UN carefully refrained from labeling the killings as genocide, which would have necessitated some sort of emergency intervention. On April 21st, Red Cross estimated that hundreds of thousands of Tutsi had already been massacred since April 6th, an extraordinary rate of killing. The UN Security Council responded to the worsening crisis by voting unanimously to abandon Rwanda. The remainder of UN peacekeeping troops were pulled out, leaving behind only a tiny force of about 200 soldiers for the entire country.